Hey there, my fellow author. I'm Sarah Elizabeth Sawyer, an old soul kind of writer living my dream as a full-time author and authorpreneur. But I didn't start out living a confident, creative lifestyle. I struggled with the fears and the mental and emotional barriers that so often plague writers at all stages of their author career. But the truth is that with the right knowledge, tools, and training, you can overcome those barriers. I'm here to teach you how I've developed a lifestyle that's allowed me to publish 19 books and counting. Each week, as you tune into the Confident Fiction Author podcast, you'll get clarity on the steps you need to take to advance your writing career. Whether it's developing your ideal writing routine, tackling new skills like dictating your fiction, or overcoming the obstacles life throws your way, this podcast will help you live a more confident, creative lifestyle. Let's get started. Hey there, my fellow author, and welcome to this episode of the Confident Fiction Author podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Elizabeth Sawyer, and today we are going to talk about a phrase that has been rattling around in my head for a while now, and that is choose your hard. Maybe you've heard some version of this before. It floats around fitness circles and finance circles, and I've heard it said a dozen different ways. But it landed for me fresh a couple of months ago in a most unglamorous moment. And the more I sat with it, the more I realized it might just be the most honest thing anyone can say about the writing life. Because here's the feeling I want you to name right up front. Maybe you've thought, writing this book is just so hard. Maybe it's not supposed to be this hard. Maybe if it were really my calling, it would be easier. If that thought has ever visited you at 11 o'clock at night, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. So let me tell you about my Saturday morning a few months ago. I woke up with back pain. Not dramatic, call the doctor back pain, just that deep ache you get from too much sitting. I had just gotten back from a long trip, lots of airport and flying time, and I'd also been editing, which means hours in a chair, and my body was sending me the bill for all of it. All I wanted to do that Saturday morning was just sit in a comfortable spot, maybe lay on the couch with a book, and just read the morning away. But I know better. The thing that helps my complaining back is not more sitting. It is moving. So I decided to take my morning walk, which brought me to the next hard. It was a little chilly that day, the grass was soaking wet, and I stood there at the door trying to figure out what on earth to wear on my feet. I didn't want to wear my tennis shoes, didn't want to get them messed up, so I ended up wearing socks with my Crocs. And let me tell you how that went. Within about 40 steps, I had wet socks. And if you want a small, humbling picture of the human condition, it's a tired woman with an aching back squishing through wet grass in soggy socks at 7 in the morning. And somewhere in the middle of that walk, the phrase showed up. Choose your hard. Staying on the couch, just stretching my back out there with my book, that would have been easy, but I would have paid for it the rest of the day with that continued back pain. As soon as I got up, tried to do anything, I would be in crippling pain. And so right at that second, it would have felt wonderful just to lay there and read my book. But I knew that was hard on my back, hard on my energy, and it was hard on the version of me who has to live with this body for the next several decades. So yes, walking in wet socks was also hard. Those were my two hards. I didn't get to choose whether my Saturday morning was going to involve hard. I only got to choose which one I was going to embrace. And my friend, that is the writing life in one soggy little parable. So let's walk through the hards you and I are actually choosing between as fiction authors. Let's start with the big one. Writing a book is hard. I will never stand here and tell you otherwise. It's months of decisions, thousands of sentences, and characters who won't cooperate, middles that sag, and the constant company of doubt. Anyone who tells you writing a novel is easy has either never done it or they're selling something. But here's the other side, and I want you to hear it gently. If you are called to write, not writing a book is also hard. It's just a different kind of hard. Not writing is the weight you carry into every season of your life where the story stays locked in your head, it stays locked in your heart. It's that pestering. I've said that my writing follows me around all day and pesters me. That's why I like to get my writing done first thing in the morning. Well, an unwritten book pesters harder than any work in progress ever has. It shows up when you see someone else's book launch, when a stranger asks, "What do you do?" And you almost say the word writer and you don't. It shows up at the end of the year when you look back at your goals list and you realize the book is as exactly unwritten as it was in January. Writing is hard for a season, scene by scene, and then it ends with a book. Not writing is hard forever, and it ends with regret. Both are hard. Only one of them is going somewhere. So when the drafting gets heavy and your brain whispers, "This is just too hard," I want you to finish the sentence honestly. Too hard compared to what? Compared to carrying this story unwritten for another 5 years? Choose your hard. Now, let's get physical because this is the hard that authors ignore the longest. Typing is hard on your body. We don't like to say it that way. We say, "I'm just a little sore," or "maybe I need to get a better chair." But let's be honest about what our work actually asks of a body. Thousands of words a day push through wrist and fingers, hours of sitting, a neck craned toward a screen, shoulders creeping up toward your ears, somewhere in chapter 3, and staying there until dinner. That toll has names: carpal tunnel syndrome, repetitive strain injuries, chronic neck and upper back tension, eye strain that turns into headaches. Last week, I told you about an author who spent thousands of dollars on chiropractic work after wrecking her back, sitting and typing her stories. Thousands of dollars. And I know she would have rather have spent that on something else. And here's the thing that is particularly hard. This compounds. The couch, yeah, it would have felt easy on Saturday morning while quietly making my back worse. Typing feels normal today, but for many authors, it is borrowing against the years when they had planned to write their best books. Living with physical pain is hard, as I know some authors listening to this have experienced in big ways. And that is so much harder than any of the preventative hards we dodge along the way. So what's the alternative hard? For me, it was learning to write with my voice instead of my hands. I can dictate for 2 hours and come away energized. When I typed, writing was physically tiring, full stop. These days, I write while I walk, I write while lying down when my body asks for that. I rarely write fiction sitting at a desk at all. My hands get a break, my back gets movement, and my eyes get to look at a horizon instead of a screen. Now, was learning to dictate easy? No. And that's the next hard we need to talk about because I'm not going to sugarcoat it with this. Learning to dictate your fiction is hard. There, someone in this space finally just said it plainly. The first time you try to speak a sentence of fiction out loud, it will probably feel awkward, almost guaranteed. Your sentences will come out stiff, the transcript will be a mess, your inner critic will read it back to you in the most condescending voice it can find. I know because I lived it. I tried dictation back in 2013, even announced it publicly, and failed so completely that I thought, my brain just doesn't work that way, and I totally gave up. But notice what I actually did when I quit. I didn't escape hard. I traded it. I traded a short season of awkward practice for years of more slow, physically draining typing and a career question I couldn't answer. The hard of learning dictation is front-loaded. It's a few weeks, maybe a few months of feeling clumsy while your brain builds a new path the same way your fingers once fumbled around on a keyboard until one day they didn't. It's a temporary hard with a payoff on the other side. Staying stuck is the opposite kind of hard. It never announces itself. There's no single awful moment, just the same frustration on repeat. The word counts that won't budge and just climb so slowly, the writing sessions that leave your body aching, the pockets of time that slip by unused because writing requires a desk and a keyboard and a free hour you don't always have. Staying stuck is the hard that feels like nothing is wrong. That's what makes it so expensive. When I finally chose the learning hard in 2020, it took me weeks of practice, not years, weeks of messy transcripts and figuring things out. And on the other side of that, I now have 14 dictated books and more coming. I doubled my writing speed, and I have a writing life that builds my health instead of grinding it down. Two hards. One of them is just a season. The other one is a subscription. Choose your hard. How do you do this practically? Because choose your hard makes a nice coffee mug, but you and I need it to survive contact with a real writing day. Here's what I do. When I catch myself avoiding something because it's hard, I stop and name both hards out loud. Sometimes it's just in my head, but it's way better when I just say it out loud. Yeah, walking in wet grass with wet socks is hard. A week back for the rest of my life is harder. Dictating messy scenes for 2 weeks is hard. A couple of months is hard. 10 more years of aching wrist is harder. Something about hearing the two hards side by side just exposes the truth of it, because avoidance only ever shows you one side of the ledger. It shows you the hard of doing the new thing a lot of times, and it hides the hard of not doing. Then, once you've named them, once you've named those two hard, decide once and stop renegotiating. I love the old Disney film from the 1960s with Fess Parker and playing the role of Davy Crockett, where his motto was, "Be sure you're right, then go ahead." Notice the order. Take the time to be sure, weigh your two hards honestly, and then go ahead and stop holding a fresh debate every single morning. The debate is where all of your energy leaks out. And so each day, I don't decide whether or not I'm going to take my walk. I decided who I am, a woman who takes her morning walk. Wet socks are just the toll on some mornings. And one more thing, pick hards that are seasons, not subscriptions. Learning a skill is a season. Finishing a draft is a season. Building a writing habit is a season. Pain, regret, staying stuck are subscriptions, and they auto-renew until you cancel them on purpose. There is no version of the author life without hard. Writing the book is hard, and not writing it is harder on your soul. Typing for decades is hard on your body, and changing how you write is hard for a short time. Learning something new is hard, but staying stuck is the hardest of all because it charges you interest and calls it comfort. We often don't get to opt out of hard. You only get to choose which one. So here is your action step for this week. Pick one thing you've been avoiding because it's hard and name both hards out loud. The hard of doing it and the hard of leaving it undone. Say them both in the same breath, then choose on purpose and take one small step into the hard you chose. If that hard you choose is finally making the shift from typing to dictating your fiction, I want to make that one easier for you. That's what I do in my dictation trainings, and the things that I create is I want to make it as effortless as possible for you to make that shift from typing to speaking your words. As a part of that, I did something I have wanted to do for years. I've wanted to have this for years, and that is an app. Yes, I built an app for dictating your fiction. It is called Fictate, and it's the only app I know of built specifically for dictating fiction authors. Fictate, the app, is in beta right now, and it is totally free while we are in beta. So if you would like to take part in this very exciting venture, in shaping this new app, just head over to fictateapp.com, and that's fictate like dictate, but with the F. So fictateapp.com, and grab your spot and start sending your feedback as you use the app. Again, that's fictateapp.com. I would love to hear which hard you chose this week. Come find this episode over on my Substack. It's at fictioncourses.substack.com, and leave me a comment. Which hard did you choose this week? That's all for this episode, my fellow author. I will see you in the next one of the Confident Fiction Author Podcast. Take care.